Both wheels.
Well, I just do two wheels. That way I don't have to reset it
Oh,
when we go to the primetime games. Just
oh,
makes it
that's
easier.
smart.
That's some heady behavior. That's a real
What
heady
what
behavior.
what week did you make that adjustment?
Pretty early, maybe
Yeah.
even like maybe as early as like week 2 or 3.
Oh yeah, you figured that out pretty
So
quick.
it was just like that much of a pain to like have to like type it out again that I was like, all right, I'll just
Yeah.
have a backup ready.
Love it. Love it. All right. Welcome to week 12. So week 11 recap. Losing week 2 and 3. Obviously not what we were hoping for, especially at this stage. So we dropped to 25, 28, and 2 overall. Did I get that right? Did I get those numbers right?
I just had our last week record. Last week we
25,
were 25, 28,
25,
2.
28, and 2. Um, so I mean, this, we're starting to get into, I think, in order for us to obviously monetize this thing, like we're probably in a now or never spot. We talked about this last week. It's like every week it seems like it's just kind of like something different hits. We haven't put a week together yet. We haven't had a week where all three of us were firing on all cylinders with our picks. Plus, we got the Sunday and the Monday night. Like, we just haven't had that yet. So, hopefully, that's right around the corner. And that's coming, and we can get on a little bit of a heater. But this is definitely the time. We got to turn on the Jets. No pun intended there. But just to recap the week itself with the individual picks. So, Bone, you were on the Dolphins, minus 13.5. Got off to a slow start in that game and then found ourselves in a position we were up 2013 at the end of the third. We're a touchdown and an extra point away from covering the number. Felt like we had life. And then they did absolutely nothing in that fourth
Nuts.
quarter. They had 3 offensive drives, they had 2 turnovers in that quarter. And they got 0 points out of it. 0.
Yeah.
Which was just like, I mean, absolutely infuriating. So that was brutal. Felt like the right spot, to kind of catch the Raiders coming off that heater with Antonio Pierce, but just they just couldn't convert in the fourth. Any thoughts on the pick?
No, they I think you covered it pretty well. Pretty underwhelming on the Dolphins end. I think the Raiders hung in there a little bit better than at least I anticipated. They're still playing hard, but I think there was multiple opportunities in that game, especially down the stretch. Um, you know, all it was it was a football number. They just needed that 7 points.
Yeah, I mean, not a
If
bad
I'm
pick.
not
It was
wrong, I'm
there.
pretty
Yeah.
sure
You're
like
there.
all those Raiders points were generated off of like turnovers too. So it's just
Yeah,
like they were
Yeah.
just getting the ball in plus territory and they were able to turn it into 3 and then I think maybe once or twice 7. Um,
Once O'Connell threw that hit that pass to Devontae, it kind of settled in for me. I was like, this one just doesn't feel. I
yeah.
think even though that was early, it was just like, if they're hitting plays like that,
There's
just
just a vibe to it.
yeah.
yeah, exactly. And it just
I will.
it
13
just
points becomes a
hurts a
lot
little
bigger.
extra and
Yeah.
just, turnovers kill you. You can't expect to lose a turnover battle and I'm not even sure if they did because they might have. I know that they got an interception off O'Connell on like a Hail Mary at the end and all that stuff. So technically they might have won or tied the turnover battle, but especially when you're trying to cover that big of a number, it's just like any type of hiccup like that is just going to kill you. And it felt
Yeah.
like one of those slow, suffocating deaths where it's like you always feel like there's a chance to kind of sneak back and grab it, but you know that realistically it's not going to happen.
Well,
Yeah.
especially with Tyreek and Waddle and the guys they have too, it's like they can truly rip off a play whenever. But even with those guys, it just never, you never felt it coming. It was always just
Just
kind
to
of a
just
bleak outlook.
to that point, Kieran, and I looked it up. So they tied the turnover battle. Both teams had 3 turnovers.
Mm-hmm.
Dolphins had 4.5 minutes more of time of possession. Penalties were about even. Total yards, Dolphins outgained them 422 to 296. So
Yeah.
that's a pretty
I was
substantial.
gonna say Tua had like 320 yards.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like I said, I mean, one of O'Connell's interceptions is just like end of the game, throw it to the end zone,
Yeah, yeah.
hope somebody grabs it. So technically they tied it, but really the Dolphins did lose the turnover battle.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'll tell you, that's something like that. It does feel like something to kind of keep an eye on with the Dolphins, though. Like even today, I mean, they had what, 3 turnovers in that game. I mean, they blew them out. It's the Jets, but
Tua's been very sloppy. Tua's been
yeah,
super
it
careless
seems
with the
like
ball.
Yeah.
offensively.
Well,
they've been
I was
pretty-
saying to Zach earlier, and they were talking about it a little bit on the broadcast with Tua and the turnovers, but I do think in the long run it's good for him because I think he was maybe falling into that spot where he's so well known for his efficiency, his timing, all that stuff. And when he really started to hit his stride last year with McDaniel, I felt like he was playing too safe at times. And it's
Mm,
like, you know, when you're playing basketball or when you're having a good round of golf and you realize that you're on a hot streak, right? You're on like the third hole, you're like, holy shit, I've shot par on every single hole so far. And then you start playing a little bit tight, right? And I think that it's good for him to kind of just see those turnovers and know, like, hey, like I can try these throws, I can get away with this, I can do this, or even just throwing a turnover and realizing that it's not that big of a deal to throw an interception. And they were saying that I don't know if it was in practice or what, but Tua threw like 4 picks and he's down on himself. And McDaniel's like, no, like that's great for pretty much the reason that I just said, where, you know, okay, maybe this year he's kind of having an issue with it, but you know, when you're looking long
be
term, it's
more
like, okay,
aggressive.
last year he was too safe. Maybe this year he was letting it fly too much. I trust McDaniel, and I think that Tua is a good enough quarterback to find that happy medium where moving forward, maybe
Yeah.
not this year right away, but I think in the future, I think it'll be good for him to
He'll land in that sweet spot.
yeah, if he's just throwing 10 picks a year, but it's like whatever. I mean, you know, that's kind of like
Yeah.
that. That's like where Brady always sat, right? He was always like, you know, 8, 9, or 10 picks, but you know, 35, 40 touchdowns, 5,000 yards. So
Yeah. Speaking of that, I still remember. I think there was one year, Kieran, and I think you had like a Brady under on picks or something.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
then
And he like set the record for deflected interception.
deflected
I think it was
interceptions.
like 6 that year.
Like, KB, what year was that? Was I on that with you?
That
Yeah, I
was
think
like
you were. It
I
was
have
like
like
so
a
it was
loose
like
memory
4 or
of being
5 years
on that.
ago because I remember we were still at Pacific Avenue,
yeah, I think
which
it
is
was when
where
we
we
were out there
lived.
for Christmas.
Yeah, it was like 2018 or 2019. I remember we were watching the game, and then like you lost the bet on a deflected pick against the Bills, and
Yeah.
it was just like it was one of those where like we just were like that. You got to be kidding.
Man, it was literally like 5 or 6 on the year
Yeah,
that
yeah.
went off the
It
hands of a receiver.
it was unbelievable. Like, come on. Oh my god.
But you know what? Because I was talking to Angelo too about that Mostert bet, and I was saying it's like that's the type of shit that it feels like never happens to you as a
Happens, and
gambler.
it did.
Never
Bro,
happens. That's the type of shit that happens against you, where it's like, holy shit, I bet the under on Mostert, all that stuff, and then he just rips that off. You're like, no, 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 no.
Bro, I had like 4 bets. I had
Go down,
4
go
bets booked
down.
because of that. That was crazy.
I even
That
you
was
know
insane.
him running along the goal line. I was like, just go in, like just
Yeah.
Bro, they were giving run to Darrington Evans with like 8 minutes left. I thought like Mostert was just like done.
Well,
Like
that's why I
didn't
got in the
even,
shower. I was
I
like,
didn't
all
even
right,
think. I didn't
if Darrington
Right.
Evans is getting carries, like it's over.
Hey,
that
I'll tell you,
that
it
also
worked.
never
You
happened
got in the
either.
shower, you washed the loser off you,
It's
and then
true.
you got out, and there it was. You know,
It was strange. He just for a guy that's so fast, like maybe I don't watch him close enough, but like he felt like he was playing so slow today. He was like almost like just like walking to these holes. It was so strange, but whatever. What a way to hit.
no, I mean there are some days I get out of bed, I just feel a little slower than I did the day before. You
Yeah.
know, he's human just like the rest of us.
And it was, I mean, you know, I was saying too, it just felt like a curse game, like Black Friday, 3 p.m. kickoff, just
Yeah. Gary,
very
Gary
strange.
Gary V's hyping up the game. It's like
Yeah.
everything about it's cursed, you know. All right. All right. So second pick of last week, we had the Cardinals. Kieran, and this was your pick plus 4.5. Man, this was brutal. So they scored to make it 21-16, went for 2. And this was like what? Like middle of the third quarter. Didn't convert it, but like, you know, right there, right on the edge. And then the end of that game was wild. Like,
Yeah.
What did Stroud throw? 2 picks to keep us in it.
Yep, and he threw 3 overall, which is just
He threw
crazy for
3
how he's been
overall.
playing.
We also survived a muffed punt. So there was a muff punt. Texans were punting at some point in the fourth quarter. They muff the punt. Houston recovers, and then that drive, Stroud, the ensuing drive, Stroud throws a pick. So the Cardinals get the ball back. They go 4 plays, go for it on 4th and 4, incomplete pass. Texans take over. They run about 4 plays, and then on the 5th play, Stroud at the Arizona 26 throws another pick. And then the Cardinals get it. They go 10 plays, 54 yards, a 4.5-minute drive. And the drive ends on a 4th and 8 at the Houston 27. It's amazing to me. It's amazing to me that they can go 10 plays, 54 yards, 4.5 minutes, and it stalls out on a 4th and 8 of all things at the Houston 27, and that was the end of it. But man, I mean, we were like, it almost felt like we won that.
Right.
I know, and it will
Yeah.
kind of the kick on the balls too is that we did finish inside the closing number, which was 6.5. So
Oh, Jesus.
to miss out on that also makes it a little more brutal.
Although I
But yeah, I
guess
mean, it was
I
tough
guess-
because it felt like we were kind of in the driver's seat all game. It felt like, when I gave the pick, I said I like the Cardinals to just win outright, and
Yeah.
it felt like we were going to do that. So especially when you're getting points, that's always a good feeling. But yeah, to just slip outside of that number and then not cover it and then have it finish still inside the closing number, it's just it's a brutal loss.
Yeah, that was tough. Although I guess in terms of like our number and the closing number might have evened out a little bit because the 49ers, which was my pick, we did win this game.
Mhm.
So we had them at 11.5, but I think the number closed at 13.5.
Yeah, I think maybe even 14 flat.
It might have been, yeah. Actually, no, it is because actually Kieran Pup said that to me on Sunday morning. Because I think the games had just started and he was like, oh, what did we get this game at? And I told, I said to him 11.5. And he was like, oh, I think I saw this morning this game closed at like 13.5 or 14.
Yeah.
And lo and behold, 27-14. And it was funny. I forget what we were doing. We were out though, and you guys had texted at one point, just being like, "Oh, I take Leo to a birthday party," and you guys were texting. I wasn't able to check my phone, but I looked down at my phone, and it's like, "Oh God, don't do this to us! Don't do," And I'm like, "Oh Jesus, what happened?" And then I looked up the game, and we won. But I was looking at the play-by-play, and I could see why you guys were getting a little antsy over there.
It was hairy.
I could see that. There was it looked like there was a red zone opportunity where they, the Bucks ended up turning it over on downs, and then there was a punt that the Bucks returned for 51 yards.
Yeah.
Just some things happening that really put that cover in a tough spot, but we held on, we prevailed. So
Yeah.
all right, so we were 1-2 in the early games, and then we went to Sunday Night Football, riding a 5-game win streak, and took our first loss in 6 weeks. Broncos country. We rode, and man, that was brutal. Broncos were -2.5. They win 21-20. I still don't know what the hell that 2-point conversion was. I'm not sure
Crazy.
I'll get over that.
I pushed that out of my brain actually, that 2-point conversion attack. I like saw it and just tried to instantly forget it. That
Did
was
they just
such a
run the
brutal-
ball? I'm trying to remember what it was.
It was a like Wilson. Wilson was in shotgun. He had Javante to his left. He took the snap, and then I think he kind of started to flush out to the left with Williams.
Yeah.
And he just pitched him the ball, but there were 3 guys waiting. I mean, the play was dead before it started. I mean, it was one of those where as soon as they snapped the ball and they started to move, I was like, we have no chance, which is so disheartening. I mean, at least if Wilson had thrown the ball into the end zone, there would have been a moment of oh my God, who's going to be there? That sort of thing. But it was as soon as he gave the ball to Williams, it was you knew that they were not going to get it.
That's almost like one of those. That's almost like one of those plays that you see teams like run, like maybe in like the first quarter to like set something up later in the game, like just like a waste of a play almost, just to like see how a team like reacts to Russell Wilson and Javonte Williams going like rolling out left or whatever. Not on a 2-point conversion. In that situation, it was a ridiculous play call. Those type of
All
plays,
time.
they're just I just don't know how that play ever works on the 2-yard line like that. So, yep, yeah.
Yeah, like I'd love to know, like did you guys practice that play? And like how
I'm
did
sure it looks great in like no pads, like
Yeah.
when like the defense knows it's coming and like doesn't just have like 5 guys on that side and
yeah.
eat it up. But yeah, I mean, against the team that actually wants to beat the play, I mean, yeah, it was like a botch. It looked like a botch play, but it was the actual play call. So
Tough.
ugly.
Very tough. Yeah, any other thoughts on like the game as a whole? Broncos, Josh Dobbs, anything?
No, I mean, it's kind of a shame that we didn't come away with the cover there because I feel like it was a good pick. I think that the Vikings were the public darlings. I'm curious to see if people were taking the spread or if they were just betting on money line for them to win outright. But we were on the right side. I think that was a good pick. It was a good analysis, and I think the Broncos, that defense is really, really good, and it feels like they figured something out with the offense where they've realized that Russell Wilson isn't the downfield stretch it out guy anymore. He's playing a lot more conservatively, closer to line of scrimmage, shorter passes, that type of thing. So it feels like they've maybe found a little bit of something there in Denver. I don't know how much it'll do for them at the, down the stretch in the year. I don't even know where they're really at in the wild card race, but they're putting together a good string of games.
Cortland Sutton has scored a touchdown in like 6 straight games too. That being said, he probably won't score this week. But I mean, he's really turned into something for them too. I mean, he's awesome. Like I feel like that's,
Yeah.
I mean, not that like, I think we kind of knew coming into the season, he's a hell of a player, but, I feel like he's really come on for them late. Yeah, I think like you said, I mean, it seems like they've figured something. They're playing pretty decent football. Yeah, just terrible. We didn't get that cover. So, but a game we did cover was Monday night. Eagles plus 2.5. So we improved to 6-4-1 on Monday Night Football. Definitely had us worried in the first half. But as we've seen and certainly, read about in the past few days, because it happened again, Chiefs are a horrible second half football team, and the Eagles took advantage of that and got us right back in that thing and ultimately won it. So that was a great win. Obviously not the spot you want to be in, 1-3, like, desperate for a win on Monday night, but we got it. So that was big.
Let me ask you guys a question. You think we talked about Salah and his commercial and stuff like that earlier. You think there's a little something to like Andy Reid kind of just mailing it in this season after the Super Bowl? He's on commercials. He's like, talking about nuggies and stuff on that Burger King commercial or whatever the commercial that is with Mahomes and Kelsey. Like those Chiefs have some serious problems. It seems like
I don't think it's just him. I mean, if we're gonna talk about
halftime
we're gonna talk about like distractions, it's like, Mahomes, Kelsey, like
yeah.
The 3 guys that kind of make up that triumvirate, like, they're all, they're all doing big things, like, off the field, bigger things than they've done off the field. Like, they've got a lot going on. Like, and again, like I don't know if there's anything to that necessarily, but I wouldn't pin it on Reed alone. But I think it's they got a problem at wide receiver. I mean, look, we also if Scantling knows how to catch a football, we probably don't win that game.
Yeah.
And there's a different conversation that's happening,
Hey, Mahomes could have thrown a better ball.
A little bit, like maybe slightly, but that ball's gonna get caught. I mean, that's
You're an NFL receiver.
Kelsey's Kelsey's got a problem too. I mean, he had a fumble, he had a big drop. I mean, it didn't hurt them in terms of extending the drive, but like it definitely put them. I mean, I think they had to convert on a 4th down because of a drop he had. It just kind of changes the complexion of a drive, you know?
Yeah.
But I mean, they just seem to kind of have like some issues, like little issues throughout, you know? Oh, there we go. There we go.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think the big thing is that they just, maybe don't have as good a team as they've had in years past. I mean, we saw it with Brady all the time, right? I mean, they went a decade between championships, and there were teams where, like they still won the division, they still won 10 to 12 games, stuff like that. But like that offense just really isn't that great. I mean, you obviously have Travis Kelce, but it's like Rashee Rice, he's an emerging young receiver, but beyond him, it's like you got Valdez Scantling, you got Sky Moore, you got Kadarius Toney. That's really not a great lineup of receivers. So
No.
I think that you just can't rely on the offense to get it done the same way, where it's like, oh, okay, well, Mahomes has the ball with 3 minutes left, they're definitely going to score. It's like, that's not really a guarantee right now.
Yep.
And that the Chiefs defense has been playing incredibly well. Had some really, really big moments, good moments in that Eagles game. But they're a team that relies on the blitz a lot. And if they're not applying pressure or playing a quarterback who plays well against the blitz, like Jalen Hurts, they're susceptible to getting like driven on and scored on. So that's also a little, like they're a good defense, but if their offense isn't scoring points in the second half, I mean, and they run into the right team with the Eagles, it's not the Chiefs of old. Kind of fits the NFL. Kind of fits the NFL.
Very impressed with Jalen in that second half. I thought he looked great. Thought he looked like a totally different quarterback.
Yep.
He thought he looked great. Big fan.
Yeah, that whole offense looked really good. Composed.
Yes.
Very composed.
Yep. All right. Should we get into it?
Yeah. I think we're ready for it. All right. Ooh. Tristan.
Oh.
Nice.
Oh, there was a delay on my end. I didn't know.
Yeah, I have the delay every time, always.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's crazy. I never knew who has it until Kieran announces it.
All right. This is, it's a little bit of an ugly, as we used to say, Kieran, money's in the crumbs pick. I'm going Rams over the Cardinals in a pick 'em. Cardinals defense 30th in pressure rate, last in first downs given up, second to last in the league in opponent success rate. Kyron Williams coming back. He's probably going to be on a pitch count, but they're getting him back. Cooper Kupp's going to play this weekend. This just seems like a recipe to me for the Rams to get that offense back on track. With like such a poor pressure rate, Stafford's going to be back there. He should have time. He's got 3 great offensive weapons in terms of receivers. Plus, he's got Higbee, a tight end who they don't use as much. But the Cardinals' offense too. I know Kyler's still working his way back. I think they're starting to find some things, but they're not fully clicking yet. And Michael Wilson's already been ruled out. Hollywood Brown was downgraded to questionable. There are now questions as to whether or not he's going to be in the game. So they could potentially be without their top 2 wide receivers. Hollywood's definitely their top wide receiver. I think, whether Wilson's a top 2 is questionable, but he's a player for them. So this just seems like a good spot for the Rams. I like it. I'm going the Rams in a pick 'em. I think they can win this game.
Yeah, I like the pick. I was kind of leaning Cardinals on it just because I do like how the Cardinals are looking. I think that Kyler Murray's giving them a spark. I think that, guys like him and James Conner, they are kind of coming in here and have the mindset of like, we're not tanking for a top pick. It's like, we're going to take whatever pick we fall to, but it's like, we're still playing, and I like that. I like the spark they brought back. Like I said, it felt like we were in the driver's seat all last week, and then, we suddenly weren't. And, that really stunk. It did, some of those calls too. The refs were absolutely killing me. But
Sure.
yeah, I mean, I do think that everything that you're saying is true. It just feels like a spot where it's kind of setting up for the Rams to win. I do think, not that he's there anymore, but I'm pretty sure McVay used to like own Kingsbury, and we still have similar rosters. I do think that Gannon's a better coach. It seems like he's got some energy. He's bringing some juice into the organization. But yeah, I do think it just feels like one of those games where maybe Stafford and Cup have their connection. Nakua's always been playing well. And I think that'll be close enough. But yeah, I like your logic on that.
Yeah, I only notes I had, I didn't really have too strong of a lean either way. But only real note I had was just points. I think it's gonna be a high scoring game. Kyron Williams is back. Tristan, I don't know if you said it, but Kyron Williams,
Yep.
who was a difference maker in that offense when he was playing like a month ago. Think he steps right back into that role of getting, 15, 20 touches a game and can be a big spark for them. I don't think the combination of Puka, Cup, and Kyron have all been on the field at the same time, which is intriguing. Could take even more pressure off of Stafford to have to exert himself or be the guy. He can have a steady run game by him, and then dish it out to Puka and Cup in the intermediate space and kind of let them work. So, yeah, I see the vision. Don't think the Cardinals are by any means a lock. Think it's going to come down to maybe who has the ball last kind of game. But you never know. Division game, so it'll be a good one. I like the pick.
Oh,
McVay is 11-2-1 against the spread against the Cardinals. Stafford is 57-37 straight up against a team that's 500 or worse.
very good.
Not bad.
Love the pick. Thank you.
Always good to hear.
All right, back to it.
All right, Will.
Ooh. All right, I'm up.
What do you
This
got?
is tough. I didn't really have a single pick that I loved. Like I didn't have like a lock of the week or anything like that, but one that kind of hit me after I filled out my card, because then I was thinking about it and I was like, wait, hold on a second. We can't just ignore like one of the greatest trends of all time, which is Bill Belichick against a rookie quarterback. We got the Pats. Let me just double check that spread. I believe they are, -3 at the Giants. Bill Belichick against Tommy DeVito. I don't care who he's got out there. I don't care if he's got us in the starting lineup. Tommy DeVito's not going to have a chance. We've seen it time and time again. We've seen it with top picks. We've seen it with mid-round picks, and now we're going to see it with undrafted guys like DeVito. It's a rookie. It's Bill Belichick. That's all I need to know. That's -3.
I fucking love the pick, dude. They were I had two picks. I had two picks far above the rest this week. Pats were one of them. I wanted to get in that mud. So happy I can support and root for the Pats. Off a bye.
I love the simple formula. Love it.
They'll be there.
You know what's interesting? You know what's
being a-
interesting about the whole thing is, like, we still don't know who's starting, do we? For the Patriots.
I hope
Yeah.
it's Will Greer. Now
I
that
would love
we're
to see
in on,
Will Greer get the
I
start.
hope it's Will Greer. I really do. They give Zappy and Mac Jones split
Something if
for touches all week, and then
Belichick's first offensive play, he just sends all three guys out. Like some sort of wacky, like,
Well, it's like the
That'd be
Heisman
hilarious.
formation that the Ravens used to have, where it was Lamar, RG3, and Mark Ingram.
yeah,
They'd all be out there doing some
Yeah.
wildcat type shit.
yeah. That would be like an ultimate. We're 2-8, nothing to lose. So I'm just gonna troll the media, and I'm gonna send all three quarterbacks out there. And
you might have three quarterbacks take snaps tomorrow.
It really wouldn't
on
shock me.
Yeah, I mean,
Really,
who
my only
knows?
concern is that the
knows?
Pats win like 2-0 on a safety.
oh, it's like,
That's
this is like an Iowa Nebraska thing. where
yeah, it's what I feel like the game is going to be. I also love the Giants coming off of that win. It's like, all right, they got their win.
I think there's something to that. Yeah, like,
Yeah. But like if it was like even like 3.5, I'd just be like, oh man, I don't know. That hook really might be a killer. But knowing
DeVito's
that we
feeling,
knowing that we get the field goal, I feel good. But I mean, I could see this being like I don't even know, 13 to
I was
3.
gonna say 16-13. Yeah, 16.
it's like
Just a bunch of
Tommy DeVito's feeling himself, but he forgets two things. One, his defense had 6 turnovers
yeah.
in that game against the Commanders. And two, he's facing Bill Belichick, not Ron Rivera.
Yeah.
Very different.
Like
Very different.
he's facing, like last week, he faced a team whose defensive coordinator has now been fired. You know?
I think the Pats have a much better defense
Yeah.
in theory than the Commanders do. Especially
Significantly better.
with
I definitely.
just
I
I mean maybe not week to
they
week.
just
Who
got their
knows?
defensive coordinator
But
fired, you know? Like
yeah, right,
so,
right.
I mean, just like Kyle Duggar and Jabril Peppers alone.
Yeah,
Like I
Yep.
think is better than their entire defense, especially
Yeah.
after the deadline with
far
no
more.
Chase Young, no Sweat.
yeah, yep. So
That's bad.
I love it. You know, it seemed like the card was like kind of flat for you, and you just followed your gut and went back to basics. I love it.
Bro, it's like chicken noodle soup, bro. If you
Simple
got like
fuck.
if you need
Yeah.
it, bro. You need it in a pinch. Always got chicken noodle soup. Just cozy, comforting,
Yep.
real comforting.
Go with what you know. Go with what you know. Love it. All right, let's go to the wheel.
All right, let's get this last one in. All right, Bowen, you're up.
All right.
All right, it's the Jags. Jags -2. I don't think CJ Stroud. I've kind of been on this. He's obviously incredible. Texans, D'Amico Ryans has every case to be coach of the year. With how they've been playing, think they're probably the most entertaining team in the league right now. To watch on a week-to-week basis. They have a lot of young guys running around the field, look really really good. But I just think Doug Peterson led team. Trevor Lawrence looked really good last week. Calvin Ridley, Travis Etienne's been one of the top running backs in the league. I think the Jags have enough on defense to hold CJ Stroud to a moderate number. And I don't think that too is too intimidating. I think it's a very very gettable number for those Jags. So yeah, -2.
But you're on mute, Kieran. Is that the first time this happened on the pod?
Yeah, I just sneezed, so I just forgot to turn it back. No, I like the pick as well. I had that on my card. Yeah, I just kind of feel like, at some point, it's not necessarily the wheels coming off for CJ Stroud, but I think we started to see it last week where he looked very beatable against a Cardinals team that is not great. And then, also not just him not being able to beat the shit out of that team, but also the 3 interceptions, kind of starting to see, maybe it is a little bit of tape getting out on him, teams starting to figure him out. So I think that this is really just a big test for the Jags. A big thing, of course, I bet the Titans this year to win that division. And really a big part of my logic behind it was that I just didn't feel like the Jags deserve to be -175 favorites to win the division. I know it's a weaker division than maybe the NFC West or the AFC West, but it didn't sit right with me that they were the same level of favorites as the Chiefs and the Niners were for their divisions. I just felt like they weren't as strong. I felt like they were a little overrated coming off of last year. Obviously, they had that massive, massive comeback against the Chargers in the playoffs, and I feel like that gave them a little bit of love, but they also only got into the playoffs because Ryan Tannehill got hurt and the Titans dropped like 6 straight to end the year, right? So now I think that if the Jags want to take that next step, they have to take this game seriously and they have to kind of put the beat down on the Texans. And one thing that I found interesting, I saw this on Reddit actually, is that Calvin Ridley when Zay Jones is on the field, that is like the key to his success. That's like the straw that stirs the drink. So during games that Zay Jones played the full game, Ridley is averaging 25.5 games PPR this season. That's in 3 games this year. In the other games without Jones, Ridley's averaging 7.22 PPR points. It's an 18-point drop off. And what I was reading about is that it's because Zay Jones, he runs like a lot of the clear routes. And I guess what he's doing is he's opening up the field for Calvin Ridley. But when Zay Jones is out, Ridley is the one that's running those routes. So he's being used as way more of like a decoy than he is being an actual passing option. So that's something I'm going to be looking at moving forward for the rest of the year. If Zay Jones is playing, I'm looking at those Ridley props. Even if he's not, I'm maybe looking at that under and looking to fade him. But yeah, I mean, I feel like, this is kind of just an opportunity where we're getting the Jags at such a low price. I like them here, kind of assert their dominance in the division.
I had the Jags as my number 2 pick on the card. Love the pick. They've covered 9 straight road or neutral games against the spread. I just feel like there's a lot of steam on Houston right now. And I think too, for Jacksonville, like they want to win the division. They got to win this game because they already got doors blown off at home against Houston earlier this year. Like you can't get swept because then you don't control your own destiny. And I feel like they gotta come back and make a statement. They gotta go into their house, make a statement, get back for what happened earlier this year. They've been playing a lot of really good football too. I mean, you take that 34-3 loss against the 49ers off the table. And, outside of that, this team's been playing some really, really good football. So, this just feels like a really nice spot for the Jags here. I like them to make a statement, like you guys said too. I think, whether it's the tape or what, but, not that the wheels have been coming off, but there's been a leak, with Stroud the last couple of weeks. He's gotten a little leaky in the end of games. We talked about it earlier, talking about that Cardinals game against the Bengals. You could talk about the fact that he got his team back into position to eventually win the game, but he was also the reason that they were in that position in the first place, with late turnover. And it was a bad one. So, love the Jags pick. It was on my card.
Fuck yeah. Fuck yeah.
All right.
Cool. All right, Sunday night.
Chargers and Ravens.
Oof.
Ooh, tight one. All right. I'll lead it off.
All right.
I'm on the Ravens here. It's pretty much just a formula that we followed Tristan for a few years now, but when teams have a solid, strong run game and they have a quarterback that can throw the deep ball, that's a recipe for success against the Chargers. And maybe they don't have maybe the Ravens don't necessarily have the horses, like they don't have, like the true like premier deep threats, but with Lamar's arm, I trust pretty much anybody running that route. I mean, they have Nelson Aguilar, who of course he struggles with the drops, but that's the exact type of shit. Maybe that's actually a bet we should be looking at. Like maybe an Aguilar longest reception, maybe Aguilar anytime touchdown. But it seems like any team that can set up the big play with the run has a lot of success against the Chargers. I don't know if I told you guys this last week, but one thing was like I was talking about was longest reception against the Chargers last week with the Packers. And I was looking at it and I was like, you could really take your pick. I went with Christian Watson. His longest reception, it was like 19 and a half, maybe 20 and a half. His longest catch in the game was like 11 yards. Every other receiver on the Packers went over their longest reception prop. They allowed like receptions of 20 plus to like 5 or 6 different guys, including like AJ Dillon. Like they just allow like they just do it every week. It's like every week there's going to be like a 20, 30, 40-yard completion to their opponent. So I think that the Ravens can just run the ball. I think that they're going to be able to set up those deep shots with Lamar. He can roll out of the pocket. He can open up the field a little bit more. He can buy time for guys to get open downfield as well. So I think it's just a recipe for success. I think that, even though the Chargers were kind of on them a couple weeks ago and we were riding them for like a week or two, I do think that they still kind of stink. And I think that Staley's still going to be out at the end of this year. So I'm not going to be betting on them to go on any type of serious run and really adjust that record. So I'm on the Ravens.
Bowen, you want it? You want me to go?
Tristan, go ahead.
I'm on the Chargers. Herbert 10-6 against the spread in night games. Ravens have lost Andrews for the season. I think that's a big piece of their offense. They're a little banged up at wide receiver. It sounds like Odell is going to be a game time decision. Seems like Flowers good to go, but like there's been some question marks at wide receiver for them. So like with Andrews already out, plus some questions at wide receiver, team's not coming in full health. Lamar, 19-6 is a favorite of 3 or less, or a dog. All other spots, he's 21-30 against the spread. I think this is a must win for the Chargers. I don't think necessarily that they win this game, but I think they're going to keep that. They're going to be in it. I think they're going to stay close. I see this as a game where they lose by a late field goal, a late Justin Tucker field goal. I love the fact that we have the hook here. I'm on the Chargers 3.5.
For what it's
Oh,
worth, Odell, he's listed as questionable. Him, Bateman, Duvernay, and Zay Flowers are all full participants in practice.
Um,
I
I hate doing this. I hate
flip,
doing.
you want to flip a coin?
But both made great points. But I did have a pretty strong lean prior to both of your bits of information. So gonna go with the Ravens. Staley is a loser, hack, idiot. I don't want to bet on him. I don't want to bet on anybody like around him. And he's the main driver in all this for me. Harbaugh might just coach him out the building, coach him maybe out of a job. It feels like he's on very, very thin ice. I know the Chargers need this game really, really bad. But if you look at the top of the AFC, the Ravens also need this game just as much. And Tristan, like you said, like they might, it's going to be probably a close game relatively. And the Chargers might not win the game, but I do think the Ravens need to come out strong, focused, especially after Andrews left. Obviously they might be a little bit exposed, but they always get it done. If they don't have the best receivers out there, the healthiest out there, they always kind of seem to scrap it together. So I don't know if they really feel Andrews' absence, at least this week, against such a porous defense like the Chargers. So yeah, Ravens 3.5.
Yeah, and I agree that it's a must win for the Chargers, but if it was as easy as that, then I think Vegas would be broke, right? Some teams just lose the must win games, and for a coach like Staley, I don't really trust him to get his team up like that. And at the same time, like you said, Zach, it is just as important, maybe more of an important game for the Ravens, right? I think the Dolphins are pushing them for that top spot, and Lamari's kind of pushing for that MVP spot as well. So I think that this could be an opportunity for us to see that MVP Lamar Jackson come out and just go crazy and carry his team to a win.
Speaking of MVP, really quick, just to not to digress too much. Is there a conversation to be had about Dak?
Yes.
I don't know. With that defense playing so crazy, though, I feel like, maybe the conversation could be had, but I don't think you'll get legitimate MVP buzz.
I will say he's gone. So before yesterday's game, he was 15-1,
and
he's now plus 650.
Oh,
he's got to beat Jalen. If he can beat Jalen,
yeah, that's gonna be the
second game. If he can get over that hump, I think he'll be right there at the end.
But I guess the thing is, if he can't win his own division, you can't give it to him.
Right?
No.
Yeah, so, he has to beat Jalen,
and he's 2 games down. So that's an issue. So he might, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it is like kind of a weak, MVP race right now because it's like, I mean, Jalen's playing well, but I mean, he's playing at a lower level than he was last year. Like he's like visibly not playing as great as he was last year.
Yeah.
I'm looking now. I mean, right now I feel like Lamar is the only one at the top with like a legitimate case, and then Mahomes, like I guess just by default, and like Tua, like I just don't see him as like the MVP of that team. I think he's a really good quarterback. I think he's one of the best in the league, but like, how can you watch that team and not say that Tyreek Hill's the MVP?
Well, yeah. And the other thing I was going to say, like, whether it's Tyreek Hill or, I mean, Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah.
Like Christian McCaffrey leads all running backs. Like the next closest is Mostert at 200, like, and he leads them by 240 yards.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he's blowing. I
That's
actually sent a
that's just
screenshot to
rushing.
Kieran. I sent a screenshot to Kieran a couple days ago because of DeAndre. We both. I got DeAndre Swift. He has James Cook in our dynasty league, and they're both like top 5. And McCaffrey, yeah, McCaffrey. I mean, after yesterday as well, he must be over 1,000 yards already, right? This season rushing.
So
He was at
he's
like
he's at
900,
he's at
right?
939.
939.
Yep. And then he's got 48 receptions for 389 yards.
Yeah, I
And
mean,
he's got 5 touchdowns receiving. He's got 11, or he's got 16 total touchdowns.
and they've had their bye week already too, so he's playing the rest of the year out.
Yeah,
I
he's
mean,
playing the rest of the year out. Like,
wow,
and he's 30-1. And
it's
I'm
crazy.
just like, I don't know. I look at I look at the class of quarterbacks this year, and there's nobody that sticks out to me. And when I see that, I'm just kind of like, okay, well, if there's not a quarterback that's necessarily sticking out to me, like, are you missing somebody? And that's when I go to Christian McCaffrey and I go to Tyreek Hill, and I'm like, if you can't consider those guys, Tyreek's 60-1. And if you can't give those guys better odds, then I'm like, just make it a quarterback award. Like, don't
Yep.
try and get anybody anymore. Just
Name it the Tom Brady Most Valuable Player in the League award for
yeah.
quarterback. Like,
It only goes to QBs. Who is the best? Who is the most valuable quarterback for their team? Like that.
Yep.
But you look at what Tyreek and you look at what Christian McCaffrey are doing this year. Like, I feel like these are two of the better seasons that we've seen in a long time at their respective positions. And the fact that they can't get higher than 30-1 or 60-1, respectively, it's crazy to me. It's crazy.
especially with Tyreek, because like Jefferson's out, Chase hasn't been having like that stellar year where he could have maybe in the like none of the. I mean, AJ Brown had like a tear, like a month long or whatever that he had 6 weeks long, but I mean, no one's really like touching them in their respective positions either. Like they're so far ahead of everybody else around them. It's pretty insane what both of them are doing.
Closest got a
Tyreek being 60-1 is insane.
yeah. Closest got a
That's insane.
Tyreek receiving he's close, but I mean, he still leads them in touchdowns by 3. But yeah, I mean, Seattle's such a wide gap on the rest of the running backs. It's crazy. So I don't know.
The thing with Dak too, just because I just remembered a conversation I saw on like the Dynasty subreddit where it's like, when do we give Dak his respect? All that. It's like one thing that we cannot forget, and like there definitely is like a recency bias with games, especially when it comes to the MVP or the Heisman or anything like that. But he was legitimately bad for like the first month and a half. Like,
yeah,
started for like 200 yards, like 1 touchdown a game, like just not getting the job done. They got absolutely smacked by the Niners. So it's like when you're looking at the resume as a whole, it's like, all right, he had 5 or 6 really mediocre weeks. He's now on a tear of like 5 really good weeks. So like, yeah, like you can get the buzz, but it's also like, he does have to finish out the season kind of playing at this level, which will be tough.
yeah, yep, yeah, for sure. Yeah, because he's got Seahawks next, and then he's got Eagles, Bills, Dolphins, Lions, and then the Commanders. So he's got 5 really brutal games. He could lose 3 of those, maybe 4.
Yeah, like literally next week we could be on here talking about how Dak Prescott playing just like we expected him, played like absolute shit, didn't show up in a big spot.
Dallas, there's a world in which Dallas is heading into week 18. Dallas is 9-7.
That's pretty crazy.
Let's say they beat Seattle, right?
Are they right now?
What? They're 8-3.
Okay.
Let's say they beat Seattle, and then let's just say hypothetically they lose to the Eagles, Bills, Dolphins, and Lions, which I don't think is like it's not that far out of the realm of possibility. That's 4 straight losses. They're 9-7.
Yeah, and they're at Buffalo and at Miami.
Yeah. Like that's,
Tough.
So yeah. So maybe I should reframe my question. Like, should we be having a conversation about CMC and
It's kind of the same
Yes.
answer though. It's like they just like
Oh,
won't,
totally, yeah.
yeah, they
It's
just won't get the respect.
it's
Oh,
it's just it's crazy to me. It's crazy.
yeah.
So all right, should we go to Monday night?
Yeah, let me just
Yeah.
get this full screen.
Well, if CMC just before we hit the wheel, if CMC does get like 1,500 rushing yards and like 800 receiving yards or like 750 receiving yards, that feels like a season. I mean, depending on how many touchdowns he has or whatever, and where the Niners stand, like that, he should be up there. That's crazy.
Yeah, I
When
mean
was
it
the
could be,
last
you know,
running
I mean
back to
if
win it? That's up there for like total yards
at
in
the
a season.
price it could be worth sprinkling on just because it's so big. Like the return on either of them would be massive, even if we're just putting like $10 on it. So like it could
Yeah.
be worth it in that aspect. And like right now, if we were to like go on like Dak, like we'd just be buying him high. Like he's at plus 650. Like you said, Tristan, he was 1,500 a week ago.
Yeah, if we had done it a week ago,
Yeah,
that's a
like we
different.
like if anything, like we just missed the opportunity to buy on Dak. I guess like if he wins, like it doesn't matter what you get him at, like a winner's a winner. But yeah, I mean, I think that if we are going to play any value, it would be that. And we just have to hope that all these quarterbacks just like are unimpressive down the stretch, and we kind of get it. Because I mean, it could be something where who knows? I mean, maybe by week 16, it's like he's down to 10-1 odds or something. But yeah, it is. It's just a massive uphill climb for any of these non QBs to get it.
Yeah.
Kieran, your mother says good night.
Oh, tell her I said good night.
She want to
And that I
come. She
love her.
want to come on camera because it's being recorded. And she had M&Ms in her mouth.
I'll tell her I love her. Tell her
And
sweet dreams.
she says good night, Zachy.
No. Oh. My heart needed that. Good night, Robin.
All right, back to the wheel.
All right, so we're maybe worth a sprinkle on both CMC and Terry.
Yeah, it could be worth it.
Okay. All right. All right, big spin.
Tristan.
Oh boy. All right. Let me get to my notes. I hate the game. Kind of hate the pick, but I'm going Bears plus 3.5. Vikings. I really don't like. I don't have much on this game. I look through trends, thought on this game, and I just like there was nothing I could really come up with because like Fields is back. It's Dobbs. I feel like at this stage they're kind of evenly matched. Even though the Bears blew the game last week against the Lions, like that was a game that they were in a position to win late against a team that, is going to contend. And I just feel like in this type of matchup with where these two teams are at on a Monday night, I prefer taking the team with the points, especially a team getting with the hook. Again, I don't love it, but I'm going to buy into what we've said before, which I think was the Stu Feiner theory, which is if you're not throwing up over a pick, it's probably not a good pick. So I'm going Bears plus 3.5.
I'm on the Vikings here, and I mean, I think you kind of make that argument for either side of this game because I really don't love either side of this game. I think that it's, a brutal spread for both, just because it's like, can you trust the Bears to even keep it that close against anybody? And then, how much do you trust the Vikings and like, are they legit or anything? But I just think it's a spot where it's teams with just different motivations. And, the Bears, they got some of their wins, they went out, they beat the Panthers, they did all that shit. They're at like 3 wins now, whatever. The Vikings, they are playing for a playoff spot. And I don't know if Justin Jefferson is going to be back. I was just reading he's on limited participant. They have been clocking him at top speeds this week, but like they're still.
He's I think he's pretty much.
What?
I think he's out. Just so you know, I believe he's out. I believe it's
has been really because like I know his window to be activated closes like a few days after this game.
But he
So it's
is
either
like,
now or they're going to do it like at
They
the
have
start
their
of next
bye
week.
next week, so they're not gonna rush him back. And
Yeah, but either way, like I mean, I just
I
think that
think the
the
points, the points
Vikings,
stand,
they
right?
played really good football last week. They were playing inspired football. They were trying to close that gap, come back, win that game. Um, and that was a spot where I didn't expect them to win. I expected the Broncos to go in there and beat them. So for them to show up and play like that, I like the way that they're continuing to play, even though they finally got that loss with Josh Dobbs. So I think they're just going to come in. They're going to play tough. It is a tough spread because it could just end up being a field goal game. We could get fucked on the hook. But I just like the style of football they're playing. I think that KOC is a great coach. I think that Eberflus is a guy that will not be employed at the end of this year. So I'm going to bet on the coaching there. I'm going to bet on the motivations. I'm going to bet on just the vibes of the teams that are playing in this game. So I like the Vikings.
Bowen.
I shouldn't have this much power. I shouldn't have this much power. Yeah, I like the Vikings. Tough. The hook is really intimidating. I think it's going to be right around that number. Don't see it getting too out of hand for either team in this one. However, which way it plays out, think it's going to be hovering around there. Um, Eberflus really sucks. If I had to, pick one coach to be fired tomorrow, or Monday, or I guess Tuesday because they play Monday, he'd be the guy. He's first on the chopping block in my mind, even before Staley. Um, the Birds are going to move on without him after this year, it seems. I don't think they're playing for him anymore. I think the Vikings are playing for, KOC a lot. He gets them going week in, week out. They're always ready to play, it seems, even if they're not, like last week, they, had some rough moments and, lost that game. The Broncos did beat them, but it was right there. They seem to always play, even with Kirk when he was around. They're always playing those one score games. They're always playing hard. Jefferson not being back is tough, but they haven't had him for 5-6 weeks now, and they've been plenty fine, especially with Dobbs. So I think they'll be able to score enough points to get over that 3.5 hump. So Vikings.
All right. Vikings it is.
Shit.
Yeah, I
So
mean, I truly think that Kevin O'Connell is like one of the better coaches in the league, and I think that he gets that praise. But I feel like how high he should be ranked in terms of that, he's maybe a little underrated. But yeah, I mean, I think in that coaching matchup, Eberflus is just a loser. He's awful, and like this is just the type of team where it's like, okay, they beat the Panthers, they beat the Raiders, they beat the Commanders. I think the Vikings are a little bit better than that caliber of team. So, I think that I'll take the risk with the hook and just hope that they can do it 4 points or a touchdown or more.
I do have to say, Tristan could have a lot of I told you so. Next show that we record, just
I
because
hope I don't.
I did go against him on the swing vote 2 times in a row. So
I mean, I
just
hope
putting
I
that
don't.
out in the air.
My
I know,
my
me neither. Me neither. I just had to get it off my chest.
my,
I'm
my
sorry.
hope was that I did my job on my Rams pick, and that consensus did its job on the Sunday night and the Monday night games. It's
That's the
um,
goal.
it's one of those things. I mean, you could go back revisionist history, like, I mean, there's been maybe a couple spots where I was on the right side, and but there's been some spots where you guys were on the right side. It's
Yep.
it is what it
Hey,
is.
speaking of Dak, remember Dallas, San Francisco.
What was that? Were you on the
When I was on the Niners, you guys were on the Cowboys.
you're on the Cowboys? Yeah, you've been waiting to bring that back up.
No, I'm just saying if we're gonna talk about,
was it, the
told you so,
holster?
told you so. It's like, I'm just saying, like, you're on the right side. Last week I was on the Chiefs.
Yeah, I mean, we've all, I'm sure there's all been spots though, where we could have an I told you so moment, but we've also I mean, if we look at our individual picks, let's see. I mean, we're all even, so it's easy to talk about this, but like Bowen 5-5-1, Kieran 4-7, me 5-6. We're all like 500, it's like nobody's been, nobody's been locked in, and so it's it's all good. I love that Bowen's got the shirt off and now he's talking like his phone's about to die.
Yeah, get a little bit of
No,
that
I'm
rope
good.
on
I
yours.
was actually just charging my phone. It got to 10% like 20
Yeah.
minutes ago.
I
So
bet
put
it-
it
I
on the
bet it-
charger.
I bet it did. I love it.
I'm notorious for my phone being low on battery. I'm a low battery bandit. I'm a bad dude.
Followers of the
but,
pod know that. Yeah, they've experienced it a couple times. All right, so we've got. I already submitted them, but just to recap, we've got the Jaguars -2. Bowen, that was your pick. But
Yep.
sounds like a popular pick on everybody's card. Kieran, you were on the Patriots -3. I was on the Rams as a pick 'em over the Cardinals. We've got the Ravens -3.5, and then we've got the Vikings -3.5 as well. So that's the 5-0 card this week. Let's get to work.
I love it.
Cool.
I love it. I love the patch pick. It's good to have the patch on our board.
Yeah, I
Been a
don't think
lack
we
of
played them
patch.
at all.
Been a lack of patch this year.
Yeah,
I know
yeah, maybe for the best.
Yeah. No, definitely for the best. Definitely for the
They are
best.
2-8 against the spread, but if there was ever a spot to take them,
Oh shit, they're 2-8 against the spread.
yeah, it's like all-time worst. But I mean, if there was ever a spot to take
Oh,
them, but this is why Kiernan's like formula is so brilliant. Like it's like this is the spot, right? Like you take them in the spot. Like this is a tried and true formula. It's a rookie QB coming off a big week against a team with a defensive coordinator who's no longer employed. Like
it's like that. It's like it's almost as foolproof as the moon. That stat with the Lions is
what was it?
incredible.
The Gibbous Moon?
That's incredible.
That was crazy. And they fucking lost. They looked awful.
They lost.
They,
But like
They didn't just
they
lose. Like, they
lost
looked
like
horrendous.
soundly too. That
Yeah.
wasn't even close.
Goff had 3 fumbles. That's crazy for a
you
quarterback.
guys do you follow that dude's account?
No.
He posts the most ridiculous shit all the time. It's like like his account's probably going to take off now because he hit on that Gibbous Moon thing, but like I've definitely sent you some stuff of his before, but it's the type of shit where you like read it and you just like you audibly laugh out loud and then you move on because it's like
Yeah.
so but he hit on this Gibbous Moon thing and it was unbelievable. Like
Unbelievable.
yeah.
It also
Like-
could like totally not be true, and I'd have no idea if it was.
Oh,
Yeah,
I
right,
think
I'm not
I think
gonna
it's
fact check
I think it's completely made. I do think it's completely.
Oh, is it?
I don't even know that there's a such thing as a gibbous. I have no idea.
No, that's a thing.
Is it a thing?
Oh fuck! Am I an idiot? Did I fall for that?
No,
I'm an
I
idiot.
think the Gibbous, it's either when it's like 2/3 full or it's 1/3. It's like one side of that.
But he could have made those dates up. Like he easily could have made those dates up.
Totally.
Like
No
I,
one. No
Between
I
one.
don't
half
know
and
that-
full.
what's that?
It's when the moon is between half full and full.
But did anybody do the homework to validate like his historical record of the gibbous?
There's no way.
I
There's
doubt
no way.
it. Like, I doubt
I
anybody.
don't even know how you. I don't even know how you would do that. I don't even know how you would do that.
It would take too much time.
But you say that he typically posts like legit stuff?
No, it's like it's ridiculous shit. Like
Yeah.
it's not even that it's like fake. I'll send you a couple examples of the stuff that he posts, and you'll get a sense for his account.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not even gonna begin to describe it because he doesn't do it justice. So I'll send you guys a couple things. You can get a feel for the account, but it's a funny follow. He's a good
He's
follow.
currently I see one of his last tweets. So he pinned the Gibbous thing. But and this is the reason why I think that he might be legit, is that yeah, he's posting like last season versus this season sorted by difference in win percentage. So if you're posting those types of stats, you're probably just posting stats. I think he's just a stat head.
Well, there's that, but then he does like he loves his little like. Let me see if I can find one. Yeah, he might be legit. But like here's one. Like he posts it like this.
No, this guy is definitely just a stat head. Like, at the age of 23 in his second season out of UCLA, number 33, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar led the NBA in scoring. At the age of 23 in his second season out of UCLA, number 33, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, spelled Kareem Karim, led the NFL in scoring. Like, he just finds shit like that. He's definitely just a nerd stat head. Like, I think he's legit.
But then he'll post stuff like, and again, like this is where like it's not true. Like it's no, wait, it's factually correct, but it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
This is where it almost borderlines on parody. He posted a thing on November 16, 2023. Have you won on any day of the week besides Sunday since 2019? 31 of the 32 NFL teams are circled yes. And then for the New York Giants, they're circled and it says no, we've lost 15 in a row. It's like shit like that.
Is it true though?
I'm assuming it's true. Like I'm not gonna go and fact check them, but I'm assuming it's true.
Yeah.
You know, but he loves those like little like not Venn diagram type things, but he does a lot of those, you know, like to highlight that like one or two teams are the only two that have done that, you know?
Yeah.
He loves those
Yeah,
diagrams.
no, he's definitely just a guy that is like obsessed with stats.
Yeah. But anyway, check his account. It's like it's a funny account.
No, yeah, because I'm scrolling it now and it's like I've seen enough that's like definitely legit that I think that everything I'm just assuming that everything you post is real. Unless he just really wanted to, unless it was a long con to get us with the gibbous moon.
Here's another one. Do you have more wins on Sundays or Thursdays this season? This was from November 12th. 31 of the 32 teams are circled under Sundays. The lone team that is circled on Thursdays, who we're fading this week, the Chicago Bears.
That's what I was gonna guess because they beat the Panthers.
Yeah. Yep. And I think that's about when that happened, right? That would have been
Yeah.
Yeah, that would have been, you know. So anyway. Yeah, it's a good account. You guys should follow it. So.
Yeah.
All right. Six. We're on to week 12.
Fuck yeah.
All right.
Yep.
I'll talk to you guys.
All right. See you later.
Later.